Strait of Hormuz. By the way, gas prices. Rob, if you want to go to oil prices, the one that Tom sent early this morning, here's what it's looking like, the latest. 5 days, oil prices, crude oil prices are up 45%. 1 month, 60%. Where is it right now, Rob? If you can go look at prices right now, what are prices looking like right now? Crude oil, if we can look up.
West Texas Intermediate, 97.50, just under 100.
Okay, 97.50, 99.8 is where we are. And by the way, this is all caused because of Strait of Hormuz, and it leads to this story. Drone strike torches oil tanker in Strait of Hormuz as Iran's blockade halts global shipping. And, some are saying it could get higher, much higher, the numbers. Let me read this to you. A commercial oil tanker was set ablaze in the Strait of Hormuz after it was struck by an Iranian suicide drone. The country's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps said Saturday with a U.S. Navy mission to safeguard ships through the region, possibly still weeks away. The IRGC claimed the tanker, the Prima, sailing under a Maltese flag, had ignored repeated warnings not to enter the strait. According to Tasnim, a news agency, Iran's news media, the flow of oil through strait, one of the world's most vital energy. We already know the numbers. We've talked about that. As a result, U.S. oil prices shot up $20 a barrel in a week. Now it's $30, $40 a barrel. Tom, what does this mean, and do you see it going any higher? If yes, how much higher?
Well, this is getting a little nervous on a international scale because this is taking time. And the longer time it takes, the longer the straits are closed, the more you're going to have supply issues, and supply issues drives price, and then fear drives price. Can we go ahead and talk about the island?
Go for it, yes.
Yeah, so Kharg Island, if I'm pronouncing this correctly, there's a picture of it right there, and you can see the satellite picture there. Zoom in a bit, Rob. The only thing that's on this island is a little square. You see right on the edges there of the island, you see those lateral ports. That's where giant tankers fuel, and then look what's on the island. Tons and tons and tons of tanks, not military tanks, big round oil storage tanks. This island has got tremendous pipelines that go under the sea, and it is the island that refuels, get this, as Pat said at the beginning, 90% of the exports from Iran go on that island. If you were to hit this island and disable it, you will absolutely disable Iran's export capabilities, number one. But number two, you're going to cause world oil prices to go up. Now, some speculators in the U.S. aren't upset by this, Pat. They look at it this way. In the oil industry, Vinny, if you and I were drilling oil in Permian Basin, West Texas Intermediate, now we're selling oil at $100. A couple weeks ago, we were selling it at $68.50. So one half of the energy infrastructure is not terribly upset. These are the drillers and exporters of other regions. The people that are going to be upset is the European economy, and then specifically China. The boots on the ground, there was speculation. There was an article came out this morning that they said U.S. Special Forces rumored to be preparing to assault and take this island. If we, there it is, U.S. that was, and here's 3 hours ago, U.S. weighs Special Forces taking Kharg Island. This would mean that the U.S. would occupy and control 90% of Iran's exports. This is huge. This either brings them to their knees, Pat, and we can get some sort of a treaty. As I said, I don't think it's going to be an unconditional surrender, but this is huge. The oil prices are up on demand and speculation and fear and uncertainty, and then you've got U.S. Special Forces thinking here. Just this headline, Pat, I think is good for $10 this morning, because if you think about that, what happens if U.S. Special Forces occupy that island? It means, okay, you're not exporting anything. We're going to control your exports. And by getting the Navy, this is the one area that we have a defense expert that we spoke to this morning. They have fast boats with specialized missiles that are on the back that defend this island because it's pretty close to Iran's coast. So it is well defended, and it's up all the way up at the top of the Persian Gulf. So the price
Adam,
of oil and all
thinking?
this is getting a little hairy, Pat.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to affect America that much, and I'll tell you why. We don't get our oil from this region. I don't think this is where a region that we care all too much about from an American standpoint. Obviously, I think we're more in the down road doctrine. I think Panama is a bigger deal. I think Greenland is a bigger deal. Look, there's always going to be flashpoints that come up. Tom brings up a good point with China. I did some research on where China gets their oil, and you think, oh, China and Iran, they're in cahoots together. I don't think China cares that much about Iran, to be honest with you. And I'll tell you why. Do you know the number of barrels of oil that China gets from Iran? You think, oh my God, Iran's selling all their oil to China. But that's not where China is getting their oil from. They're actually number 8 on the total list. I don't know if you knew that. So China gets most of their oil from Saudi. After Saudi, they get their most of their oil from Russia, then Iraq, then Angola, of all places, then the UAE, then Malaysia, and then boom, 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 down on the list is Iran. So China and Iran don't have that tight of a relationship. I think the real relationship we got to look at is Iran and Russia. Now there's stories that Russia is sort of helping Iran spy, and obviously there's a drone situation there. But China, for the most part, I know we're talking about the Strait of Hormuz. I think they're just, my point is this, I think they're going to be like, hey, Iran, listen, guy, you're screwing up all our other business with Saudi, with Iraq, with the UAE. If you want us to help you at all, you open up the Strait of Hormuz, okay, guy? Ni hao, and then hangs up. I don't think they're that close with Iran, my opinion.
You agree?
Well, 10%. What happens if we woke up this morning and the S&P and the Dow dropped 10%? That's huge. 10 to 12% of their oil, and they can't get it through the strait. China right now, I mean, it's not, you just pick up the phone and say, oh, I can't get, okay, well, that restaurant closed. I'll just call DoorDash, get the other one down the street. It's not that simple.
So let's have the conversation. I'm China, you're Iran. Ready? Hey, buddy, you messing up my Strait of Hormuz bigger time. Open it up. What do you say?
That conversation, I think, is happening, but China doesn't worry about it. They're just going to get oil from somewhere else.
No, but you're Iran. We're playing a role play. I'm China. I'm upset. You close the Strait of Hormuz. You're Iran. Open it up right now, buddy. What do you say?
I'm busy. Tell the U.S. to stop bombing me.
Well, you're going to be way busier.
You do big trade.
You're going to be way busier if you don't want our help.
Hey, big brother, you're doing big trade with the U.S. I need them to knock it off. I need them to back out of this, and I'm not going to give them an unconditional surrender. I'm busy.
So you think that Iran's going to talk tough to China?
That's
that
not
basically
talking
owns
tough.
them?
That's fact.
Okay.
Fact. As you probably notice, I'm getting bombed on 4 sides, and my Navy's been sunk. I really appreciate what you're saying here, but I need some help. You want to help me?
I get that you're busy, but if you want our help, you keep the Strait of Hormuz open because we get our oil from 90% from other countries in the region.
All you got to do, give me advanced planes. Give me advanced armaments.
I know, giving you nothing.
Let me read you what Daily Caller says, okay? U.S. economy could be in dire strait as Hormuz slams shut. Brent crude oil, they're talking about the prices, how much it's up. Now it's 35%. At the time it was 25%. Despite the U.S. back war risk insurance that President Trump offered all maritime operations in the Strait of Hormuz, traffic remains down 90% since Iranian retaliatory strikes began. Refineries have no way to ship their oil, and some are halting extraction as storage facilities at capacity. We know how much U.S. oils have been hit. A sustained 25 cent per gas prices, inflation by about 25 percentage points, according to the Federal Reserve. If the Strait of Hormuz is reopened and oil exports resume, prices could return to pre-war levels. Very large crude oil carriers, ships capable of carrying roughly 2 million barrels of oil, saw their daily rental prices skyrocket from $206,000 to over $480,000 since markets opened on Monday. The rate doubling results from continued war risk insurance issued and death of vessels willing to brave the increasingly dangerous strait.
Yep.
I mean, that's a real threat right there.
It is. And Rob, here's the math, Pat. This is very good. Rob, you roll back up the article a little bit. Stop. U.S. gas prices move in tandem with Brent crude. For every $10 increase in crude, U.S. gas prices rise 24 cents a gallon. So a sustained, takes about a month, a $40 increase in crude, and we've seen that. We've gone from 67 now to 100. So just under that, that's $1 a gallon at the pump within 30 days, Pat. You see that? 24 cents for every $10 increase in crude. So it's going to be $1 a gallon if this sustains for another 3 weeks.
What's the famous phrase that you've been saying for the past 2 hours?
Short-term pain for long-term gain.
Say it again now with me, brother.
Short-term pain for long-term gain. Did you
Now
see
make it rhyme again. Short-term pain, long-term
Right,
gain.
You saw the
This is
talking
what
point.
happens.
Well, this is the talking point now that everybody on the Republic, we always call out one side. You got to call out our side as well. The talking point was short-term pain for long-term gain with what's happening right now, and it's in unison. Rob, could you please play this? It actually makes me laugh.
Disruption for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain for the long-term gain.
Short-term pain be for long-term gain.
We're going to have some short-term pain with long-term gain.
Short-term pay for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain, yes, but we've got some long-term gain. Short-term spike for a long-term gain.
Some short-term pain for American consumers. We may have to deal with that in the short term.
Short-term and temporary.
Temporary short-term pain.
It's going to suck in the short term.
Some short-term pain.
Short-term pain. We have to focus on
Even in English,
the
English
short-term.
accent.
Short-term.
Short-term, 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 and long-term.
Short-term.
Even CNN is saying it?
Yeah,
all of them? So it's
Everybody's
everybody.
lock in step. We'll
All
see
right.
how short it's going to be.
But,
Okay.
But the pain's there. The pain's
just
gonna
because
be
it's a
there.
talking point doesn't mean it's true. It's like, I put it like
Doesn't
this.
mean it's
not
wrong.
true.
Doesn't mean it's not wrong. Sorry. So just because they're saying it's a talking point doesn't mean it's wrong. They're saying that because it actually has some validity. You know, you get compared you compare this to ripping out cancer. You know, I had a very close person in my life that had to go through cancer, who had to go through short-term pain for long-term gain. Now she's doing great, but there was 2 years of her life that she was in a very tough spot. So that's what's happening here. Look, the IRGC, the Ayatollah, is the cancer of the Middle East, and we've been at war with them since 1979, since they held how many people hostage in Iran? 400 people, 400 Americans? So this cancer needed to be ripped out one way or another. So yes, there's going to be some short-term pain, but in the end, there's going to be some long-term gains.
So listen, I mean, as you're going through this, and Tom, you briefly talked about the Kharg, the island, the Kharg Island, however will you pronounce it, that island,
Just
that
not
does
Epstein
90% of the exporting. Here's the part. I think the part that you didn't cover, Tom, that I think it's worth us putting a couple minutes into. When they say, troops on the ground, here's what I want you to think about. Imagine if the U.S. all of a sudden sends some Navy SEALs, SEAL Team 6, Delta Force, to go and take over that island. Okay, now that thing is protected. We're talking to one of our guys that used to work IED for many, many years, and he's in the back with us, and he's been at that property himself. And he says they're constantly monitoring the area. But I said, is it easy to get on? He says, yes, of course. Rob, if you can go to the island, if you go back to the picture of the island. So if all of a sudden they go in and they take that over, go through the scenarios. Number one, scenario is what? U.S. and Israel attack this place. Why is that dumb? Because if you later on want to get business out of it, you got an issue there.
Yeah.
Number two, if the Samson's option is what? What is Samson's option? For who to destroy it?
Iran does it
For
themselves.
Iran to
Just
destroy it. To say,
yeah,
really?
yeah.
Like when
No.
Saddam Hussein lit his own
like
oil
Biden
wells
blew
on
up the
fire.
pipeline. Yeah.
Exactly.
I want to talk to Samson.
We'll do it ourselves. Don't worry about it. We'll take it down, right? If they take it down. So that's the part. Now, all of a sudden, what if we take over? What if you get some special forces comes in and takes over? Listen, guys, we got this under control. We're here now. This is going to be a player here that you're talking about Strait of Hormuz. The more and more, everybody's getting smarter as we're learning about everything that's going on. But if there is a way that they can get control of this, do not be surprised. 51% of you who watch this podcast, and I've helped us go from a regular show with 20, 30 viewers to now, being a top 20 podcast worldwide on Spotify and on YouTube. It's a top 20, top 15, top 10 podcast. It wouldn't happen without you, but it helps our algorithms if you subscribe as well. 51% of you watch this show weekly. You regularly tune in, 51% of you, but you haven't subscribed. I would like to take that 51% to 40%. With your help, I believe we can pull it off. And if we do that, more subscribers, higher quality guests, better conversations with you. Thank you for doing that.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.